Hey everyone, real quick before we get into this review, I want to apologize for not doing this earlier. I had some time off last week, so I didn't get to watch or review this episode as quickly as I would have liked to, but here it is now, and I hope you enjoy. Episode 8 of The Bad Batch is entitled Reunion, and it's, as you could imagine, a reunion between The Bad Batch and Crosshair, but also between characters old and new, and I'll get some more on that later. The episode starts off on Kamino with Crosshair reporting that Clone Force 99 has been located on Bracca, and despite the Prime Minister's request to keep them alive, Admiral Rampart demands that they be terminated. Meanwhile, on Bracca, Omega is hard at work learning how to disable a thermal explosive. It doesn't really turn into a great lesson though, as Wrecker puts on the pressure by having her disarm a live explosive. Omega tries her best but ends up cutting the wrong wire, only to be confused when it doesn't go off. Wrecker confesses that it was a smoke bomb the entire time, and that he would never let her practice for the first time on a real live explosive. Wrecker does reassure her of her abilities by saying that he also failed his first disarming test, but with his help, she'll be a pro in no time. They, however, are not alone during this training session. Echo and Wrecker discover that they're being watched, and with the element of surprise, decide to rush after the members of the Scrapper Guild that have been watching them. The members of the Scrapper Guild almost get away, but ultimately are unsuccessful. And after tying up the members of the Scrapper Guild, Echo insists that they leave Bracca. Hunter, however, says that they need money before they can depart, and they have a chance to pay off Sid right now with the potential contents within the armory and the artillery bay of the Venator-class Star Destroyer. And they are able to find quite the haul in the armory, with a whole crate of thermal explosives and a proton torpedo. Meanwhile, Omega helps Tech gather the hardware data imprint from the ship's bridge. She gets distracted, however, when the proximity sensor is triggered by a group of Imperial shuttles. Back on Kamino, the Prime Minister believes that the Empire's intrusion on Bracca poses a threat to their contingency plan, and believes that they need more help retrieving Omega, and that more bounty hunters will get the job done quicker. The Bad Batch attempt to make their escape from the Venator as Crosshair and his unit of clones plan their invasion. Tech is able to hack into Crosshair's comms and is able to track the Empire's movements. They hear that the Empire is headed towards the hangar, so the Batch decide to make their way to the artillery deck instead. It doesn't seem like a plan that works though, as Crosshair has everything planned out and cuts off their escape in the artillery deck, saying that tapping into their comms was so predictable. During this standoff, Hunter tries to talk some sense into Crosshair by saying there's no real reason to come after them. Omega even steps in to double the point, admitting that there's an inhibitor chip in his head making him do this, and that she understands that he can't help it. But Crosshair isn't fazed at all. The Bad Batch are able to make a very narrow escape, however, by choosing to fire the cannons on the deck, causing the whole part of the ship they're in to collapse around them. From here, the Bad Batch make their way into the ion engine chamber in the back of the ship and plan to make their escape through the engines. But it's still not that easy, as Crosshair already has them pinned down. Not only that, but Crosshair also orders all power to be routed to the engines as he attempts to incinerate the Batch in the engine. Of course, the Bad Batch doesn't give up that easily, and uses the thermal explosives to blow the engine cylinder, causing it to fall away from the ship. In doing so, however, the engine flares shoot out, severely burning Crosshair as a form of collateral damage from his failed attempt to eliminate them. The Bad Batch fall to safety, but Hunter and Omega are separated from Wrecker, Tech, and Echo. Hunter orders to meet back at the Marauder, but Crosshair also makes the same order to cut off Clone Force 99 at their shuttle. But while he's making the command, his clones fail to respond to the order. Hunter and Omega make their way back to the Marauder to find all of Crosshair's clones laying dead around the shuttle. Hunter mentions that it wasn't the Scrapper Guild, only to be interrupted by the real culprit, a figure saying it wasn't much work. Only to reveal our next reunion that I mentioned earlier in the video, the infamous bounty hunter, Cad Bane. And he's after Omega. During this scene, we get a great Western standoff moment between both Hunter and Cad Bane, but it doesn't go in the viewer's favor at all. Cad Bane shoots Hunter right in the chest and stuns Omega. And by the time the rest of the Bad Batch get to their ship, they find Hunter and drag him back on board. We do get a really great POV from Hunter's helmet during this scene though, giving heavy Clone Commando vibes, which I thought was awesome. But they finally get his helmet off for him to say that a bounty hunter got away with Omega, ending the episode. This episode was incredible. From the fight with Crosshair to the showdown with Cad Bane, this was just overall amazing. The stakes are so much higher now. Crosshair is still after them, and now they have to figure out how to find Omega, which only means that they're going to end up owing Sid so much more credits. I might make a separate video to this episode going into more detail on some of the potential plot points to come based on what happened in this episode, but let me know if you want to see something like that. Overall, however, this episode was wild, and I am so excited to see what happens next. But what were your thoughts on this episode, Reunion? Did you like the showdown between the Bad Batch and Crosshair, or was Cad Bane the part that stole the show for you? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.